Hello class, this is standard ecosystems 2, and if you watched video number 1, we talked about primary producers, primary consumers, secondary consumers, tertiary consumers. So if this is the flow of energy and the flow of the flow of energy and the cycling of nutrients, basically what controls primary production, like what limits or what causes that first layer of the food chain or the energy flow or the cycle, like what affects that very first chain. Okay, so looking at the next slide on your notes, primary production is really the definition of primary production is how much light, from the sun, remember primary production comes from the sun, is converted into actual chemicals. Okay, so think of all the sunlight in the world, how much of it is actually converted into usable chemicals. Two terms that you need to know: GPP and NPP. GPP stands for gross. You may have learned this in some of your other classes. Gross means like what's the total primary production, what's the total number of chemicals that you've made from the sun. Net means how much energy have you made minus how much energy that you've used. So it's sort of like spending. Like gross income is like how much money do you earn. Net is how much money do you earn minus like how much you've actually spent, like, or minus taxes, right? So net, gross primary production minus the energy used by the prime reserves for respiration. Respiration is a process in which animals like us consume or use energy. So those of you that like math or equations, the net primary production is the same thing as the gross primary production, like everything, minus what is used for respiration. NPP, net primary production, is the storage of chemical energy available to consumers in an ecosystem. So you may be wondering, or may not be wondering, what is the different net primary production across like different ecosystems? I'll show you what's effective and what's not effective. As percentage of the Earth's surface area, like looking at this first table, as my son is playing with this microphone, in terms of the world's surface, like what type of ecosystem is the whole world? 65% of it is open ocean. Okay, so the whole world, you can see down the line, Trey. As you can see down the line, there's tons of different ecosystems, blue meaning marine and green meaning terrestrial, like on land. But when we talk about average net primary production, open ocean is probably one of the least effective. Like open ocean, there's not that many plants, there's not that many things that can be converted. And in converse, tropical rainforest is only 3% of the world, but it is 2,200 efficient in terms of primary production. For marines, the algal beds and the coral reefs, they make tons of energy. They're very productive, but there's not that much of them on the planet. There's only 0.1. So you could see sort of why preserving some of these ecosystems are very important. They are responsible for all the energy for the ecosystems. So primarily, it's affected by two things. One is light availability. So how much light is there? Think about it. In open ocean, the reason why a lot of death and photosynthesis. So if you think about the open ocean touches or gets tons of light, right? It's probably the number one that gets the most light, but there's not that many plants or photosynthesizers up in the open ocean. In reverse, like the deep ocean, like the very bottom of the ocean, it has barely any light. It has poor primary production. And also in marine environments, it's also affected by nutrients, like how many nutrients are available. If there's no nutrients, then there's no one to capture that light. This NMP refers to nitrogen and phosphorus. So if there's no nitrogen and phosphorus, there's no primary production. The key factors controlling primary production, like if you really narrow it down, like what factors really determine like if an ecosystem is a good primary producer or not, it really comes down to temperature and moisture. So if you have good temperature, good moisture, you're going to have good primary production. Think rainforest, think coral reefs. If you have like an extreme temperature or lack of or extreme moisture, you also have poor primary production. And just a key term that you need to know is that a nutrient-rich lake that has a lot of algal growth, remember algal is responsible for photosynthesizing in marine environments, that term is called eutrophic or eutrophication. Like it has a lot of nutrients for primary production. So that's the video on standard ECO.2, what affects or what controls primary production. See you in the next video.